what can audiences expect from I'm Not Ready Now when they watch it?
First, they can expect the right name, which is I Was Not Ready Da.
I, my bad. Hi, this is Bhanaj. Welcome to the Dead End Chat Room. And today we're talking to Arvind SA, who is reporting live from the cyclone in Chennai. How's the weather around there, Arvind?
It's actually quite an anticlimax. Nothing happened. There's just a lot of wind, no rain, just a lot of darkness, and we just saw the lull, no storm only.
Yeah, we had that in Bombay a while ago. So let's start off. 2020 has been quite a sort of conflicting year for you, I think. On the one hand, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. We've got the pandemic, we've got whatever Trump is doing right now. On the other hand, Leeds got into the Premier League and you've got a special. So what's this like? How's this year been for you?
Yeah, I've just not been able to process it because it's like, yeah, two of probably the most awaited things I would say in life, which was getting the special out of the way and also being alive when I actually witnessed my favorite football club come back to the Premier League. And it's funny that I got what I wanted, but just not the perfect situation. Like I would have loved to be in UK when actually the promotion happened. I would have loved to witness it physically. I go every year for the football matches. Likewise, I would have loved to had this special out in a normal world where I can end up, going and meeting people and celebrating with them, as opposed to having to pretend to be excited between these four walls and tell the world that you should also be excited about it. It's after a point I feel fatigued, man. Someone promoting your content, I can't imagine how it must be for the consumer. So it's strange. It's not ideal, but I'll take it.
So this special is called I Was Not Ready Da. What's the story behind the name?
Oh, it's a very silly story because it's a catch line from my first ever video that went online in the Tamil comedy universe. Like I was the first one to actually put a stand-up video out in 2014, I think. And in that video, I talk about how when your best friends get into a relationship, suddenly the power equation changes. You're no longer their number one option. So I equate it to a scenario where when my best friend Bhargav, who's also a comic, who got into a relationship and he came to pick me up for dinner. I opened the front seat of the car and there was his girlfriend sitting there in my seat, and that was the shock. And I was like, I equated that to in street cricket, like how in trials in street cricket you have a bowler who bowls a Yorker and gets you out and then says all reals. And then you're like, hey, I was not ready at all, right? So that was the first joke that went out, and I didn't even think it would become a catchphrase per se. But in Tamil, I would like to make this very clear. In Tamil, we have our own universe when it comes to the memes. We follow our own tropes. The meme world out there has its own format on what it will make a big deal out of. So this phrase from that video in 2014 ended up becoming a universal meme punchline. Like for example, when demonetization was introduced, I remember seeing Tamil meme pages using my photo from that screen, from that video, and say demonetization introduced, 1.2 billion Indians be like, I was not ready da. And this was many years ago. That's when I realized, oh, there is actually a ring to this line. So then when I wrote my second special, and I needed a line name for it, I figured if there's already a brand equity for a certain line, you might as well ride on it. So that's pretty much how I got into it. And today it works out great for me because genuinely it's about how the show is about how life throws many curveballs at you, and how I've shared multiple such curveballs in the show. So you're not ready for any of it, and ready or not, here we go is how comedy works.
So you took this show on the road and you did over 100 shows over 2 years before you set out to record it, and that is kind of standard internationally, but not so much here. So what sort of benefits did you get? How did the show evolve on the road for so long?
So I took a leaf out of Billy Joel's book because I remember reading in one of his interviews. Billy Joel, I think, I don't know if he still has it, but at one point of time he held the record for the maximum number of live shows, like a streak of live shows that he kept doing in New York or somewhere. And they kept asking him, when will you stop? And he simply said, hey, as long as there are people there to see it, I'm never going to stop. This is what I actually started out doing, and this is what I love doing. So that resonated very well. I mean, not just a Billy Joel fan, but just even as a performer, I pretty much had the idea that if people are willing to buy tickets and see it, and if it continues to sell out, then there is no reason for us to rush and play some other kind of a rat race, because we went out there in our lives in 2010 11 as whatever else we were when we chose to become a stand-up comedian for this, which is the opportunity to perform live, the ability to normalize the idea of a culture like stand-up comedy, and that works only if you promote live culture. That will never work with YouTube videos or sketches or any other manifestations that comedy can take. I'm all for such ecosystems, but I'm not a fan of that coming at the expense of this. So I personally set out to do this as many times as possible until I even get close to an idea of, hey, this will struggle to sell from here onwards. So in fact, at the 100 show, I would like to believe I went out on a high, because the 100 show had 4,000 people in Chennai, and it got sold out. It's not like we struggled as well. So, but I wanted to crawl it up, quit there saying, okay, 100, I've done every market that I possibly know of, and I'm happy about it. So yeah.
And you directed the special as well. I know you have a background as assistant director. It's just how you started out. But did you ever feel like, how was it directing your own special when you're also on stage? Do you ever feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew?
At all points of time, yes. But that's also how I operate. I don't think I can ever be satisfied with shooting somewhere in the middle and settling for it. So it's a bit of a paradox. So that means you always bite more than you can chew, and you keep, gasping for breath. But I absolutely enjoyed producing and directing this because it's something that I've always had an interest in, given my filmmaking background and my assistant direction work experience days before I became a comedian. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I couldn't do it for my first special, Madras Ida, given that it was the first one in India when all of us got into it, and I was with OML then, and it was not. It was too much of a risk and too much of an uncertain thing that I didn't want to ruffle too many feathers and be like, hey, I want to direct this as well. But 2-3 years later, I feel very comfortable in this ecosystem. I felt I can take up direction, because that's the only way I feel. At least given my micromanaging tendencies, that's the only way I can do justice to a show that has done 100 shows. If I wanted the video also to be able to do justice to that.
And so, in terms of content, you consciously chose to do this show all in English. And also, from what I've read of your interviews, in terms of material as well, you've kind of gone for a more universal, pan-Indian sort of framing for this show. So, was that a conscious decision, and what was the thinking behind it?
I think the thinking behind it was a very conscious decision, and the thinking behind it is very influenced by cinema, because I think we're all moving in the digital era. We're all moving to a time where we're becoming language agnostic. Like we have Malayalam films doing so well across the country. It's not necessarily just everyone knows of the kind of kick-ass cinema that they make. I don't think we can no longer put ourselves to, hey, Tamil folks do Tamil things and Bombay folks do Bombay things, but somebody has to make the jump. Somebody has to amplify and make that happen. So I felt I was in a position, given my comfort with English, and also my there's this incessant hunger to take the comedy, the brand of Chennai comedy, but not necessarily the language, but the brand to boundaries beyond the south of India. Because thanks to the stand-up comedy movement, especially all the great Bombay and Delhi comedians, you have a huge market in the northern part of our country that would definitely be happy to consume any other form of stand-up comedy in English that's not, say, from one of their own. It's just a question of somebody has to give it to them. Somebody has to take it up as a challenge, because the easiest thing for any South comedian would be to stick to their language and a bit of an English here or there, and just and get maximum satisfaction from their own pocket. But I like I said, I like to bite more than I can chew, which means I wanted to do it in English, and wanted to actually remove all the lines that would be dependent on a Tamilian understanding it or a South Indian understanding it, and create. And in hindsight, I'm very happy I did it, because if you look back at our comedy scene right now, there aren't many who actually do an all-English show. There are very, very few. Even though the perception might be that everyone does it in English, you would actually see them comfortably break into Hindi for 30-40%, even though they are pretty good in English. So, because everyone has the same problem. It's not like I have a new problem. Even a Bombay comedian would end up having to do the work that I did, which is how do I remove this Andas Apna Apna reference, which a Chennaiite would never understand, right? So stuff like that. So I had the joy of doing that, and it gave me, one of the reasons I did it was only because of Amazon Prime Video. So one of the reasons that you also, I think the need of the hour is because of such platforms like Amazon Prime Video, because they end up taking your show to anyone and everyone, and you start seeing that in your audience when they come to your shows. You start seeing the 50 diversity in the audience. It's no longer 90% Tamil audience. It becomes 50% Tamil, 40% Tamil. When Gurgaon and Noida sell out, you're like, okay, wait, so there are people who are aware of what you do, and if you keep supplying, you become curious on, can we maintain this relationship? Can we give them what they like and also keep your core people satisfied? So that's pretty much what I have set out to do in this show.
Well, it's interesting timing, because at the same time, we're suddenly seeing a lot more national attention to Tamil language comedy. You have Comic Style Tamil, you have the Praveen Kumar All Tamil special, Mr. Family Man. And in general, I feel like even in terms of media coverage, suddenly there's a lot more coverage happening there. So is that something that you are also going to planning on returning in the future, or is this the sort of path that you're looking at the next few years in terms of English and broader audiences?
With respect to stand-up, if I put all this effort towards creating a pan-Indian accessible show, so that my third one could also be the same, because I feel that's the much bigger challenge and a much wider market, and it's always feels more satisfying if you, without compromising, of course, if you can reach out to a wider audience and make them laugh, because it's less a big challenge that you like to take on. So that's what I see myself doing in stand-up. With respect to the Tamil audience that the OTTs seem to be promoting with other properties out there, there are other interests of mine that might align with it, but not necessarily stand-up for now.
And you mentioned before that you're kind of not a very YouTube clip happy sort of comedian. You mentioned in the interview as well. You're not the sort of person who keeps putting stuff up all the time. But have you rethought that sort of stance during the lockdown? And especially as I think even in the future, a lot of comedy will also have an online component that it didn't necessarily have earlier.
I keep assessing and reassessing it at all points of time, but I don't think it has changed my view on what I want to do. Probably what I would probably do now, which I didn't do earlier, was when I tour with my next show, I would also keep an active video out there on things that are not probably from my special. So that's something I feel can be done, but I'm not much into doing anything else to keep an active YouTube channel presence, because if you have a live show going and you have an audience that want to watch you live and that culture is continuously happening, I don't find myself getting excited for doing YouTube clips. There are much bigger challenges than that.
And you've spoken before about the fact that there's an imbalance in terms of the attention and coverage that South Indian comedy gets compared to, say, Bombay's and Delhi's, which generate a lot of noise. Do you think that's changing? Do you see more of an equal footing for maybe not just South Indian, but also other regional comedy scenes that aren't the Bombays and the Delhis and the metropolises?
I think I don't know, this needs a nuanced answer. Do I see regional comedy growing? Yes. There's clearly, we have many pockets developing like this, and I don't see anyone, regional comedy getting overlooked at all, because by regional comedy, what we mean is comedy in the language of that region. What I do still think gets overlooked a bit is what exactly I'm trying to achieve a bit with this show, which is to gather attention of regional comedians who have pan-Indian shows. Those are two different, that's a completely different thing. Now, for that to happen, you need more of a body of work. You can never expect that you can't hit the ground running with that. Of course, if you're from a Bombay or a Delhi, the disposition towards giving you a go for your show would be a lot more in certain sections than if you're from South, especially if you have not moved bases. So so I think it's overall it's a good thing, because your regional comedians will get their regional support, and comedians who aspire, like I know many Chennai comedians who aspire to keep it in English, and they're looking up to someone to give them hope that, hey, can I do it in English and still be able to make a living out of it? So they will know if I last long enough, then I guess they'll know if that's possible.
So after this now, I read that you're working on a new show. So as in writing a new show. Do you want to give us any hints of what that's about?
So that's I've written about 45 minutes during lockdown. I sat with Praveen Kumar, and every morning 8 to 10 we sit on a Zoom call like this and jam separately and then hold each other accountable. That's pretty much why we do the Zoom call, just so that we pretend like we're typing at least, even if you aren't. But it actually turned out to be great exercise. For about 4 months, I wrote it. He finished 2 shows in that. I finished just 1. He's written 2 shows. That man's one machine. So I'm about 45 minutes down. I'm talking about my experiences there as an assistant director in Tamil cinema, and that's a lot of rich stories there that I felt could get a unique positioning. And also, I'm also talking a lot about my decade-long stint with mental health, because that I realize it's about time to now is a great time to be able to bring it up, because often people think the comedians keep making you others smile, and therefore life must be like, you see some of the YouTube comments, it's like, oh my god, if he makes people laugh so much, imagine how kick-ass his life must be. I'm like, no, that's not true. What do you mean? So that's pretty much the point at which I started writing that bit as well. So I'm really looking forward to that, which is why once 2020 is done, that's it. I'm done with I Was Not Ready Da. I can't wait to tour with the next one.
What can audiences expect from I'm Not Ready Da when they watch it?
First, they can expect the right name, which is I Was Not Ready Da.
My bad.
That's okay, man. It's okay. It happens. My last name is also, played around like this. Arvind Subramani. Oh, there are jokes like this in the show. Don't worry. You're not the first. You won't be the last. So, what they can expect from the show is it? I guess they can expect a proper, very relatable, accessible South Indian storytelling experience. Is how I would put it. In the sense, there is a commonality amongst all of us Indians, but it's about how you're able to tap into it and present it to a wide audience, and that's something I've really put in a lot of effort with a lot of comedians who helped me write it that way. It's not a single man thing. They know who they are. They worked on each thing with me. So that's been the aim, and I think they can expect something for sure. Once they give me 5 minutes of their time into the show, they can expect a very, very wholesome, all the way up to post-credit scene, because there is a big surprise post-credit as well. So they can expect something that's damn wholesome, very South Indian in the sense it's sentimental, it's loud, and at the same time it's very fast and it's in your face. So yeah, that pretty much would describe me in a nutshell, I guess.
All right, thank you. This has been a fantastic chat, and I hope the special launch goes well, and I also hope to see you on stage sometime soon, whenever this pandemic allows.
Hey, thank you, Banuj.